Thanks, Scott, and welcome everyone. I appreciate you taking the time today to attend our roadmap update and overview. As Scott mentioned, I'm the product manager for Summon. I'm Brent Cook, and we'll be walking you through the first part of these slides. So something to note, there is a confidentiality agreement here. Ultimately, this is to say that this is a high-level view of what we have planned for 2019. Things may adjust as we go forward in 2019. As we build out the product and add more to the roadmap. What you're seeing today is a snapshot of what to expect from 2019. This is not the complete list. There'll be more coming in 2019 beyond the roadmap, including regular maintenance work, specific client needs, and other features that will crop up throughout the year. But in 2019, what you see in this roadmap is what we expect to deliver. We'll start off with a highlight of some of the things we developed in 2018, talk a little bit about recently added content and point you to the content corner there so you can find out more about what's been added to the index recently, and then cover the 2019 Summon roadmap and the 360 services and Intoda roadmap as well. We'll wrap up by talking a little bit about data intelligence, give you a preview of what we have planned for data intelligence, as well as remind you of the ways we're already using data intelligence within Summon. And then I'll talk a little bit about the preview environment and how the availability of that's going to expand beyond the 2-week preview window prior to a release. So let's get started with a review of 2018 and the roadmap. So as we plan to do this year, last year we had 4 quarterly releases, February 7th, May 9th, August 1st, and November 7th. We delivered each one of those on time and complete. There were a lot of great features there. A bunch of work came through the new enhancement request system or NERS voting system from Igloo and Aluna, as well as a variety of other sources. And I'll take a moment to highlight a few of the bigger pieces that came out last year. And again, this is only a sampling. There was a lot more that came out in 2019 than what we're covering here today. One of the first big features we released in 2018 was the ability to save, review, and refine your searches. So now within Summon, if your institution activates this feature, users will be able to save their searches either for a single session, in which case they'd be cleared as soon as they exited the browser, or if they want to continue to save their searches beyond a single session and use them across multiple visits to the Summon service, they can log in using their Google sign-in or their Microsoft sign-in to save their sessions or their searches to Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. If they log back in again when they come back, it will return those searches again for use in that session. But this is completely configurable, as I mentioned, by your institution. You can decide not to use it at all or turn on either Google or Microsoft or both. Next, one of those NERS features I mentioned earlier was the ability to customize advanced search. And you'll see that theme continue through 2019 with some new customizations we have this year as well. But for 2018, one of the bigger customizations that we provided was the ability to modify the advanced search page. So you can turn fields on or off and determine the order of the fields so that they are tailored to your user's needs. In November, we added enhanced autocomplete. This is an expansion beyond your current autocomplete or your previous autocomplete. Previously, autocomplete used connections and phrases and words throughout the use of Summon. So we take a look at all searches within Summon and use those in order to determine recommendations for autocompletes for your institution and for the searcher. Now, if you turn on the enhanced autocomplete, as you type in your search terms, you will get recommendations not only on Summon-wide, but also ones based on your institution's popular searches. So now the system will take a look at data from your particular institution, make a recommendation based on that, assuming that like users will have similar searches they're looking for and a greater likelihood that those provided autocompletes match your user's needs. We'll then still use the system-wide Summon data to provide other autocomplete recommendations. This is done in a way that keeps it anonymous. It's not apparent where the information is coming from, but it does complete the search term and provide for recommendations. In addition to that, you also, with the enhanced autocomplete, will have the ability to recommend suggestions from Topic Explorer, Best Bets, and Database Recommender, or to search within a specific resource, as you can see in the mock-up here on the right-hand side. This is completely configurable by your institution, so if you have topics turned on or turned off within your Summon user interface. That will determine whether or not it's recommended here as part of the enhanced autocomplete. And again, the idea here is getting the user to the information they need as quickly as possible by either providing direct access to the various components like topics and best bets, or providing better recommendations for phrases to search on to find what they want to discover. Last year, we also increased the frequency of catalog updates. So in this table, I wanted to show now what the time frame is for each of the various components of additions or changes to the Summon Index. Previously, about 2 years ago, everything was managed via that twice weekly Summon Index update. It takes 7 to 10 days in that process from content submission to inclusion in the index. Again, that was everything a few years ago. Now we've slowly changed that to where the only things that are now being handled during that twice weekly update, and they go live on Wednesdays and Fridays, are the commercial or open access provider content, adds, changes, or deletes. So that content is still done via that larger indexing process. And then catalog changes or deletes as well. Those are still done twice weekly. In addition to that, about 1.5 years ago, we improved the activation or deactivation of commercial or open access provider content. Basically what that means is if the record is already in the Summon Index and you either want to turn it on or turn it off for being available to your institution, that should happen within 12 to 48 hours. Most cases will really happen in about 24 hours or once a day. If you have spectacularly bad timing, it could take up to 48 hours. In order to have it take 48 hours for that activation or deactivation to take place, you would first have to turn the activation or deactivation on at 12:01 midnight here in Seattle. And then after that 24-hour time frame, which it starts at midnight Seattle time, you'd have to have 24 hours worth of content to process in that next day. Most cases, there's 10 hours or less content to be processed. So that's where I'm getting that number of about 24 to 36 hours is realistically when you can expect most things to be activated, sometimes even shorter than that. And then last year, the highlight for 2018 was what we did for catalog ads. So if you're adding new records to your catalog, in most instances, those ads will take place within an hour. So once an hour we go through, we check for new additions to your catalog records, and we add those to your instance of Summon. There are 2 times during the week where we pause that process, and that's during the search index updates, and that can be up to 12 hours during that period. Those usually happen on Sundays and late Wednesday or early Thursday. It's usually not 12 hours. Again, 12 hours is worst case scenario. Most times it's paused maybe 6 to 10 hours. And so during those periods, you might have a delay beyond an hour. But outside of those 2 windows, if you add something to your catalog, within an hour, it should be added to your instance of Summon. We've also been doing some good work on Summon over Alma and that integration to help out those customers. The published electronic records to Summon job is now done daily. Previously, that was done twice a week. Last summer, we changed it, so it's now run once a day at 2000 hours local time. So depending on where your instance of Alma lives, that's when that update will happen. You'll need to make sure you configure this in order to take advantage, though. Make sure you go into Resources, Publishing, and Publishing Profiles to change it to use this new active method of updating your records on a daily basis. We also made some improvements for course reserves for Summon over Alma. You can now browse course reserves via Summon. If you are an Alma customer, you can activate the tab that you can see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen grab here where it says course reserves. When a user clicks on that, they will get a list of all courses that are available currently, and they'll be able to easily navigate that, either by typing in a course name, description, or instructor, which will quickly filter that list down to ones that match that term that you're typing in, or you can sort by course ID, description, or instructor using the headings at the top of those tables. Another feature that we released recently for Summon over Alma customers are links on the service page. So as part of an Alma adoption, you get a variety of new pages to support Summon, and that includes your My Account pages that allow you access to information on holds, requests, fines, things like that. Also, you get this new detail page around the item itself. As of December of last year, we have added some functionality to that page so that now authors and subjects are linked on those pages, and a click on those links will take you to a summon results page based on that phrase you clicked on. And that is available as of December of 2018 for Summon Over Alma customers. In addition to the great work that we've done on Summon and Alma and the Summon user interface and the product overall, we've continued to add content to the index. And so both updating and refreshing content that exists in there already, as well as adding records. In fact, we started off 2018 with about 3 billion items in the index. We finished up with almost 3.4 billion items. That's an increase of almost 350 million records in 2018. This will continue to grow as we go forward. The table that you can see in front of us is a sampling of content that was added just last month. Every month we continue to add and refresh. If you want to keep on top of that and see what's available out there, please go to the Knowledge Center and look for the Content Corner. You can access that via the URL that's at the bottom of the page, or you can go just to the Knowledge Center, navigate to Summon, and there is a large tile there called Content Corner. If you click on that, that will take you to an area where you'll find the most up-to-date information about content for the Summon Index. Okay, after that review of 2018, let's take a moment to look forward and see what you should expect in 2019. When we're putting together the roadmap, some of the areas we like to think about to make sure that we're meeting your needs are the areas of search and exploring, user experience, library empowerment, and open systems. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on each one of those in just a moment. We'll continue the schedule like we did for 2018, releasing our quarterly releases on the first Wednesday of each month in each quarter, with the exception of May. So February is February 6th. May is May 15th. We've pushed that back a little bit due to some various industry activities happening at the beginning of the May, including Illuna. So we want to make sure that you're back at your institution during the preview prior to the release, so that's been pushed back to the 15th. August will be the first Wednesday of the month, August 7th, and November 6th will also be the first of the month. On the months in between these quarterly releases, we will continue to have maintenance releases. For the most part, those will be fixes and back-end changes that won't impact you or the end user. If there is something that will impact you or the end user, I will call that out, but for the most part, those monthly maintenance releases on the first Wednesday of each month go without notification. Again, they're usually small, and some months we will skip them, though most we do have some level of maintenance that we maintain. So for February, we've got a lot of things coming up. Today we're in the process of deploying the preview environment, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. In December, we released the short URLs for citations. I just wanted to put that in the February release to remind you that's another great feature that came out of that new enhancement request system from Igloo and Illuna. Currently, under permalinks, you'll be able to click on that and get a short URL. We'll continue to add to that functionality and expand it to other places where that longer permalink URL is used. You'll also see Citation Trail, talk about more of that in a minute, and the ability to configure topic sources for Topic Explorer. And again, I'll cover that more in a moment. May, we've got some great user interface changes, Glanceability and related items being related there, some addition to reporting around IEDL linking and other OBI reporting. And then in April, just before the May release, there will be a feature in the Alma monthly release that allows Summon Over Alma customers to publish a collection level URL with electronic holdings. In August, we'll expose public notes in the Summon results set. We'll improve the content ingestion report. We'll do some integration with Leganto, some facet improvements, and additional reporting. And then finally, in November, we'll release link data. We've already been doing some work on that. We started in 2018. We continue behind the scenes to work on those connections with the data to make them stronger and prepare us for this feature in November. We'll also do some improved handling of video content. As you'll hear from Amy in a moment, we've got some things happening on the 360 and Toto side of things that will prep us well for that. We'll also have some user interface changes coming here in November with Summon. We're going to work on topics, improving the relevance basically of that overall, and do more reporting around open access facets. So let's start off by talking about some of the search and exploring features. So this is a function area for us or a focus area for us because we know it's important to create the best possible experience for that end user to find what they want, sometimes when they don't even know what they're looking for. So this is an area we like to focus on each year to make sure that we create that search and exploring experience and make it as best as we possibly can. One of the biggest changes you'll see is coming out in the February release, and you'll be able to test it here shortly, is Citation Trail. Citation Trail is a feature that has been in Primo. We're excited to offer it now in Summon. What that allows you to do is to take your initial article that you're looking for and trace the use of that article. So whether it's looking back through at the articles that were cited within the original article that you're looking at, or to see where it's been cited, by another article. I know that when I was in grad school, I wish that I had had this feature. I'd always read an article and think, wow, I wish I could go back and read the ones that this article quoted. This feature makes those kind of things easy to discover and find. In May, we'll be looking at related items and releasing that as part of the product. What that is the ability to connect similar content like book reviews to books or book chapters to books for improved navigation and access. By associating these pieces together, you'll make sure that if someone is interested in that information, they can easily follow all those relationships through and find the information they want, or if they're not looking for the information that's related there, that's consolidated in a way that it doesn't overwhelm the results. We think it'll create a much better searching and exploring experience. We also continue to work on relevance overall. One of the areas we're going to focus in on is topics and how well that is performing. So we'll be looking at both recall and precision. So that's the ability to increase the number of topics that we can match and improve the frequency and accuracy of those matches. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been working on linked data, and we look forward in November to rolling out the front-end piece of this feature. So basically, we're taking a look at how to use relationships that exist within the data and better expose the metadata and the records themselves to external resources for various uses. The initial release of this will be a sitemap. This will help improve indexing via search engines. So if you've got users that are starting in Google in particular, then they'll be able to find links to your summon pages and to your institution more easily through using this linked data to get that information out to Google and build out the relationships. As I like to say for this feature, that initial piece that will be outward facing is just the tip of the iceberg. What's really exciting is all the links we're making in the back end and how we'll be able to use that in the future. And I'll talk about some of that in a moment. In addition, we have a variety of ongoing improvements that we do for the product. We always are taking a look at relevance to ensure continued quality. We periodically take a look at any use cases that you might send in where relevance isn't performing the way that you'd like to see it. We look for patterns and we look for ways to improve it. So some areas that we've already identified as some places we'd like to focus in on. And again, we may go through and review the changes and realize we're doing the best with what we have today, or it may result in new features or functionality. So we're taking a look at did you mean and providing better recommendations for search queries. We're taking a look at a variety of languages and how we can improve those. Last year we did a variety of improvements around Japanese, Chinese, and Korean in particular, taking a look at simplified characters versus traditional characters and doing a better job of normalizing or ensuring that those searches complete well. So we'll continue that in 2019. We're also reviewing known item searching and topic searches for possible improvements. I've heard some comments in the past as I've gone to visit on site or gone to user groups that there are some issues that have cropped up around known item searching or topic searches. And so if you have any examples of these where it hasn't worked the way that you'd like for it to, please let me know. You can open a support case or email me directly and just let me know what it was that you were looking for, what the terms are that you used to search for, what you expected, and what you got. And from that information, we can start to look at what might be areas that we can improve on for known item searching and do that as part of the roadmap as well. But again, this is an ongoing effort that we do. We continue to review and revise as is appropriate. Next, I want to talk a little bit about user experience. So overall, it is about that search and exploring functionality. How do I find the things that I want? Then to step back from that a moment, taking a look at that user interface and the various elements and how they interact is creating a system that will hopefully meet your patrons where they live and give them the information that they need. And in that vein, we're taking a look at a variety of things we'd like to add. As I mentioned, for the February release, you will have an improvement around Topic Explorer. For the February release, you'll be able to either turn sources for the encyclopedia entry, that reference entry that's at the top by default of Topic Explorer, you'll be able to either activate resources, and that includes things like Gale Virtual Reference Library, Credo, Wikipedia, World Book, Japan Knowledge, and I think there may be one or two others. So you can turn those on or off, and you can prioritize them such that if there's not an encyclopedia entry for your first selection of a source, it will then move to the second, third, fourth, until it finds an encyclopedia entry to display. And again, last year we made a change that if there's not an encyclopedia entry, it will still display without that information, which means you have better matching overall for topics. Why are we putting this in now? Well, in the past, you had to go to customer support in order to make changes to Topic Explorer resources. And in March, 1 month after the February release, we will be adding Oxford University Press as content you can use for Topic Explorer. So the reference entries, the reference package within Oxford University Press will be available for use in Topic Explorer. And for all of these, unless there's not a subscription required, you do have to have a subscription in order for this information to show up in your instance of Summon. One of the biggest changes we're going to make to the user interface in 2019 is around Glanceability. This, coupled with related items, is really going to do a lot to bring together the results and display them in a way that makes it easier for people at a glance to find what they need. So this will do, Glanceability will include things like highlighting important information, like type of article with a length, so that patrons can see in one glance what's relevant for that result and for them. We'll also add in public notes. The information that you've entered in the public notes field as part of your records will now be exposed as part of the Summon results, hopefully providing more information to the end user. And again, this is one that came about as part of the voting process for the new enhancement request system as part of Igloo and Luna, as well as improved facets came from the NERS voting. So the idea here is to provide you with more customizations in the Summon user interface. We really appreciate, and I've heard a lot of people tell me they appreciate how easy it is to manage Summon on the back end, and there's always a desire for more controls to customize the Summon user interface that does not require development work. Improved Facets will help out with that. It will allow you to control the look and feel of facets. You can change the order the facets appear in and determine which ones are collapsed or expanded by default. Making sure to highlight the types of facets that you think are the most appropriate for your end user. We also have a lot going on with video improvements. Overall, we're going to improve the treatment of video content in Summon. That means better use of the metadata, making sure we're using that to expose facets related to that metadata, as well as data within the individual records, and to display a thumbnail for video content to hopefully make it more appealing and more apparent within the result set. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about library empowerment, or this is basically looking at what are the tools that you need in order to be effective in your day-to-day job. So how can you support your patrons and support the library in the best possible way? This year, a lot of that will be through reporting. Again, a candidate from the NERS voting system, IEDL Reporting, will include in OBI information about what content is being used and how it's being accessed from Summon by reporting on the click path through IEDL. We'll also add a variety of other click data to OBI in order to help you better determine user paths and usage of the variety of features that you may have activated within Summon. So by taking a look at click data from Topic Explorer, Best Bets, Database Recommender, and other features will hopefully give you a better idea of how people are interacting with your site and help you to either modify your implementation of Summon in the way that it's used, or to change the way that you talk about or you do training around Summon, but ultimately give you a better visibility into what your patrons are doing and where. We also plan to improve the content ingestion report. The two big features here will be better error reporting to make them more understandable as you get error messages, and a more comprehensive error log delivered as part of the email. We'll also continue our development around Summon over Alma. There will be more later in the year, but for now we have scheduled in April the ability to publish a collection level URL with electronic holdings. Basically what this means is you'll have a default to roll back to if there's not a custom URL present within a record. So if that custom URL is not present, then someone will use the collection level URL to provide a link. hopefully getting patrons to the content they want more quickly. Finally, I'll talk a little bit about some of the open system features that we put into the product for 2019. We think it's important to continue to work with the open source community and to work with open access content, and so we always make sure that we highlight this as one of the pillars that we work on to ensure that we are continuing that relationship moving forward. We'll start off with some open access reporting that should show the importance and usage of open access content, and we'll include reporting on when that open access facet is applied. We'll also continue to integrate with other products, including Leganto, the Ex Libris Course Reserve course reading list solution. It will make it so that you can work within Leganto, do a summon search, and bring those results into Leganto to build out your course reading lists. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Amy to talk a little bit about what we have planned in 2019 for 360 services and in Tota.
Thanks, Brent. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm happy to join you today to highlight the projects and improvements we're working on in 2019, building on all the great work we did last year. 360 services and in Tota are the engines that power Summon, Link, and EJP and by helping you manage the library's critical content. So we want to be sure that you continue to receive maximum value from all of these services. This year, we will again have 4 releases in February, May, August, and November.
Hey, Amy.
Across these, yeah.
Is it possible that you can click on slideshow? The second slide's not showing up right now, at least on my screen. Brent, is it on yours?
No, it's still on the first screen. Thanks.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So let me just put this up here again and reiterate that we are going to have 4 releases in February, May, and August, with a couple of big projects coming, as well as continuing enhancements and fixes for all of our product suite. The 2019 roadmap has 3 focal points: the increasing need to manage streaming video, support for emerging industry standards, and ongoing refinements for all of our services. The first phase of video management will be released in February. Analyzing and implementing KBART and Counter Code of Practice 5 requirements will occur through Q2, Q3, and Q4. And of course, fixes and refinements will occur throughout the year. And I'm going to provide a little more detail on each of these points. Regarding streaming videos, in the February 28th release, 360 Core and in Tota will be able to search for video titles and view individual titles within Alexander Street Press and Sage packages. This, of course, means that electronic resource management activities like adding costs to a particular title or selecting specific titles within a package, adding notes and contacts, etc., are available for those titles. Now, we're deploying with Alexander Street Press and Sage package titles, and our fantastic content operations team is developing an onboarding program for additional providers in order to guide them in the way that we need to receive and present metadata. Now, streaming videos are growing very, very quickly, and I'm sure most of you can appreciate that the metadata we're seeing for those can be wildly variable. As we work through these issues with the records and begin to normalize them, that will allow us to get videos into the Summon rights feed and distribute quality records for those videos from the 360 Mark update service. Specifically, discovery rights and 360 Mark updates phases will be our focus in Q2 and Q3, and firmer timeline details will be forthcoming. Now, last year we added ebooks to the overlap analysis tool and gotten great feedback about that. And we will also include videos in overlap analysis this year. The second focal point is integrating support for industry standards. KBART support, which is the format for exchanging information about knowledge bases and knowledge base holdings, will be rolled out as a valid format for ODSI, which is our offline date and status editor in 360 Core and in Toda. When the KBART automation standard, which is under review right now, is finalized this year, and our processing capacity is increased by virtue of being in the new data center, we can establish additional auto holdings programs for providers. As some of you know, providers are meant to be counter R5 compliant beginning this year. Certainly that's not the case for all providers, leaving us in a bit of a wait and see position with regard to the data and its structure and its transmission, as well as any ongoing changes to the code of practice itself. It's our intention to create a test bed for ingesting and processing the master reports, of which there are 4, and that contain all of the possible data points that can then be further manipulated with things like filters. Our final focus is continuing enhancements and fixes. These are the highlights of the current plans, and these lists are certainly subject to change, with the exception of the February release, which is pretty well code complete. We haven't yet defined the August and November plans because as stakeholders, we meet weekly to discuss and prioritize issues we receive from the community. A couple of the highlights from the February release are within the EJP, increased precision with the title contains all word search, a variety of linker updates for 360 Link, and the ability to make the journal level URL visible in the sidebar. And we have, for Intoda and 360 Core, we have a package of several new management reports coming out. In the May release, which is certainly not complete, we are going to be including the last updated cache date in the eJournal portal display. And in response to the community reaction to our change to the View Changes audit trail that came out last year in late 2018, we're going to add a new permission that will determine who can view personal names within the View Changes. So this is the trajectory for 2019. We're incorporating the support for the new resource content type videos. We're integrating new standards like KBART automation and counter R5, and we'll continue the hard work of maintaining and enhancing all of the products within the 360 services and Intoda suite. A couple of important dates that are coming up. Friday, February 8th, we are switching over to our new data center. We have distributed information about that to the listservs, and there is likewise an FAQ in the Knowledge Center that we will update as more questions come in. And on Wednesday, February 13th, I'm going to be hosting a 360 Services and Intoda roadmap details and February release details webinar. We know that specifically for the February release, we know that there's a lot of excitement around the streaming videos content type, so we're going to be providing more detail about it. There will be an FAQ available at that time for it, and we'll have additional information about the prioritization and your input to the prioritization of onboarding other providers for that feature set. So I hope you find these initiatives for 360 and Toda as exciting as I do. Thanks for your time today, and I'll be happy to answer questions at the end of Brent's portion. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. So I would now like to take a little bit of time to talk some about data intelligence. So when I travel for Summon and I go to a variety of regional user groups or on-site visits, One of the questions that I've had a lot recently has been around data intelligence, and particularly what are our plans for using in data intelligence in Summon and Discovery, and how will we see that manifest itself in the roadmap in the time to come. And one of the good things to note is that we've already got a lot of data intelligence built into Summon, and we'll be expanding on that. Why am I talking about data intelligence right now? Well, for a variety of reasons. There's been a substantial rise in the amount of electronically available materials and material types. As I mentioned earlier, we're at 3.4 billion records and growing, so the amount of information in there is much greater. And as we highlighted video content today, the material types have expanded as well. There are a lot of new content types out there. We already have over 90 in Summon and are talking about what others we might be able to add. So it's not only articles and books anymore, but a wealth of materials like audio-visual materials, preprints, open educational resources, research data. More and more of this information is out there and available, and we're looking at how we can make it available. There's also a lot of external forces that drive change. So new and enhanced technologies deliver more processing power that make it possible to do a lot more with big data that we just used to not be able to because we couldn't crunch the information. Now we can. There's been an intense focus on data science and analytics to gain intelligence. And data mining tools are evolving alongside openly available content, making us in a position to take better advantage of this intelligence that we can build off of this data. And the users are changing too. A new generation of users are increasingly influenced by what they see on social media and consumer platforms. They're used to and expect recommendations and information to be pushed at them instead of a pull. They just have gotten used to an ecosystem online where the information is there and readily available, and the systems do everything they can to put it front and center for them to access. So what does this mean for discovery? It means that search and rank results according to the user's search can't be the only solution anymore to connect them with what they need. We can no longer take 1, 2, or 3 words and just hope that we land on the right thing because there's so much out there. Due to the fast increasing amount of content and the diverse user needs, it's not sufficient anymore to just expect that relevance algorithm is going to be the sole solution to fill their changing requirements. So data intelligence is moving discovery forward. This is the piece that's going to make discovery remain relevant moving forward and provide an even richer and better solution than what we've had in the past. As I mentioned, people have asked me, what do we plan to do in the future? Well, I'm happy to say that data science is a core part of our discovery services. We leverage intelligence from all of our data repositories to create discovery services and embed them in our products. And as I'll point out in just a moment, there's already a lot in the product that's using this data intelligence. We create a variety of contextual push services, and we have some plan for the future as well. We're also looking at how to consolidate our data repositories into a single index to allow for new innovative services to be created. So how do we pull all this information from all these sources and make sure that they're working together in a positive, constructive way that respects both you and the end user? So what are the benefits for the end user? It means they'll be able to find things more quickly with only one search, as they're coming to expect from everything from voice assistants to browsers and search engines, just being able to say what it is they're looking for and quickly have a fast resolution to the content that they'd like. So that means intuitive features that provide discovery by serendipity, not just what's the exact words you look for, but when people are looking for those words or those phrases, what are the things around it that are also pertinent. And then learning more about those topics by finding keywords you didn't previously think about or directing them that way. So as I mentioned, part of why I'm talking about this is, one, to highlight how we're already using this in our services, but also, two, talk a little bit about how this is going to grow as we move forward. And as you can see from this chart, there are a variety of features already in Summon and that are planned for the 2019 roadmap that expand this use of data intelligence. For example, BX Recommender, it's an entry point here for data intelligence. The system automatically provides recommendations for other things to look at. Users are used to that sort of recommendation for consumer platforms. We bring this into discovery based on academic users' choices to hopefully provide them access to content they might not have found otherwise. Citation Trail, which is going live in the preview environment today and will be available for activation on Summon at the beginning of February. It's a feature that researchers are familiar with from browsing on journal web pages. We bring this functionality into Discovery so that, again, you can follow the development of a thought from the article where you start into the future, or looking back at how the argument was built up to that point. For topic exploration, we're already taking a look at how to improve that. It's been in Summon for years. We're continuing to expand on how well it works by building in automatic tools to extract concepts from literature and provide a more item-level way to explore topics, doing a better job of associating with data from the interactions with Topic Explorer to enhance the topic exploration process. So that's built on data intelligence, so it already has some built in, but we're also looking at expanding it. And then finally, relationship graphs. When you see the related items functionality come out in May, that'll be the first exposure of it through the user interface, first manifestation of it. So we started creating a graph database to connect items based on formal and informal relationships, so books and book reviews, book chapters, chapters of the same book, articles and research data. So this graph database is starting to build those relationships so that we can do more with that type of information. It's a project that will evolve over time. If you've ever worked with these type of projects before, the more you use them, the more they learn, the more they develop, the more they expand. But we're already ready to introduce the first part this year, and we'll continue to build on that to offer users a simple way to browse through relationships and pick up material without having to search for it. So there's a lot to be gained here with big data and data intelligence. It's not just a buzzword ricocheting around. It's something that we apply already in your product and are working to improve on as well. So, in summary, big data is transforming our world. It's creating new challenges and new opportunities, and we're here to work with you to take those on. We're putting data science and data intelligence at the core of our systems, and as you've seen with the features I've listed today, it's already starting to show some benefit through features we're adding to Summon. And the future is transforming discovery to move from that simple search to an intelligent discovery experience. No longer can we rely on just a single search and all of those results. That's certainly a great starting point. We need to go beyond that, and data intelligence will help us get there. Okay, so the last topic I'd like to touch on today is around the preview environment and the expanded availability of the preview environment. Later today, the preview environment will go live for the February release. You'll be able to go out and test out some of these features I talked about today. So as a reminder, the preview environment duplicates the user interface, the admin console for configuring the user interface, and the configuration files. We do point to the production index for content. So in other words, if you want to make changes in Client Center or something, or you want to change what content you have rights for and things like that, that is not part of the preview environment. That will show up in the production environment. We do use the single index, the Summon index for both the production environment and the preview environment. So in the preview environment, what you should be using that for is testing API development, taking a look at UI configuration, maybe turning features on or off to see how they work. Perhaps you want to share them with colleagues in order to get buy-in from the department to activate a feature. You can use the preview environment to do that anytime now. Also, custom scripts. If you're trying out custom scripts, you're going to make a change to ones you have on the page or add new ones, you can do that in the preview environment now and check that out prior to going live. It will be available during that 2-week period prior to a quarterly release, 24 hours a day. If there's any interruption or anything happens to change that during that period or before that period, we will post notification. So the 2 weeks prior to quarterly release will remain the same as they are today, with the preview environment being updated with the new set of code for the next quarterly release at the beginning of that 2-week period. And that will kick off the preview period as we know it today. Outside of that preview window, we will make the preview environment available as best we can. So what does that mean? That means any hour of any day, you should be able to go out and access the preview URL to check out your user interface for Summon. Or you can go into the admin console. Underneath the logo in the upper right-hand corner, you'll still have that preview link that will take you to the preview admin console. And you can go in there and upload new scripts or test new configurations. And as I said, we'll do our best to make that available at all times outside of the preview window. However, because this is not a production environment, because we do testing with it sometimes and we do a variety of other upgrades and updates to it, it could be unavailable or poor performance may be limited without notice. If there's any significant impact to the preview environment, we will do our best to provide prior notice to that happening. But again, this isn't a production system, so it is possible that if you needed to access the preview environment for a day or an hour, it may not be available, or it may have slower performance. We will do our best to remedy that as quickly as possible. And again, if there's an extended outage, we'll do our best to notify you. But you are guaranteed the 2 weeks prior to the release to be able to access the preview environment and test out the new feature. There's also documentation in the Knowledge Center, and we'll send this out as part of the release notes for the upcoming release. Hopefully this will improve your experience with Summon and allow you to test those scripts, test your API calls, or try out configurations at any time. And that concludes the prepared portion of today's webinar. Please let us know if you have any questions.